You have given this feeling a name. You call it anxiety. And once named, it slowly became something you believe you are fighting. Something that entered your life without permission. Something that defines your weakness. But notice how easily the name settled into your identity. As if the storm outside somehow became your face, your voice, your future. Sit with that for a moment, because what troubles you may not be the feeling itself, but the way you learn to see yourself through it. At some point, you decided this feeling must be pushed away. You tightened your jaw. You hardened your breath. You told yourself it should not be here. And in doing so, something subtle happened. The sensation did not weaken. It grew heavier. What was once a passing wave became a weight you carried. Not because it was strong, but because you were resisting it. This is the quiet cost of inner battle. The body grows tired. The mind grows sharp and narrow. And slowly, suffer replaces fear, not as punishment, but as consequence. If you look closely, you will notice something important. The feeling comes and goes, but something stays behind. Something holds on. Anxiety does not chain you by itself. It moves freely like breath. The chain is invisible because it feels like protection. You cling to the idea that this feeling means something about you, about danger, about failure, about who you are, and that clinging tightens a loop. Not the emotion, but the attachment to it. Fear becomes powerful only when it is followed, when it is believed, when it is carried forward in thought. What binds you is not the storm. It is the hand that refuses to let it pass. Long before the struggle had a name, it was already understood. In older traditions, emotion was not treated as an enemy or a flaw. It was seen as weather. It arrived. It stayed for a time. Then it moved on. In Japan, there was an understanding that all things shift and dissolve. Mujo, nothing remains fixed long enough to own you. Fear was not personal. Anxiety was not identity. They were signs of movement. Somewhere along the way, this language was forgotten, and what was once natural became something you believed had to be corrected. There's a force that rarely announces itself. It does not shout. It does not rush. It simply sits behind your thoughts and gives them weight. Attachment. It decides what must stay and what must leave. It tells the mind what to protect and what to fear losing. When attachment forms around anxiety, the feeling gains authority. It becomes a signal you obey, a story you repeat, a warning you trust more than your own presence. In old warrior paths, this was understood without explanation. A samurai who clung to victory lost clarity. One who clung to life lost timing. The grip itself created tension. Muscles tightened before the strike. Breath shortened before the moment. The body revealed what the mind refused to see. Attachment always announces itself through strain. The monk knew the same truth in silence. When the mind grasps, it fractures. Thought multiplies. Identity hardens. You begin to defend something that was never stable to begin with. A feeling, an image of self, a future that has not arrived. Non-grasping was not passivity. It was precision, stillness without collapse. When nothing is held, nothing pulls you off center. Anxiety loses its command because there is no structure for it to rule. It arrives, but it finds no throne, no permission to stay, only space. This system has always been at work. You were never trapped by emotion. You were governed by what you refuse to release. There is a moment when something loosens, not through effort, but through seeing. You notice the feeling arise, and for first time, you do not move toward it or away from it. You remain where you are. The mind stays open. The body stays quiet. This is not control. It is absence of grasping. In this state, emotion is no longer command. It is information passing through awareness. Thoughts appear, but they are not followed. Sensation moves, but it is not owned. This is close to what was once called mushin, not an empty mind, but a mind untouched, present yet unburdened. When awareness does not cling, distance appears naturally. Not distance created by suppression, but by clarity. You begin to see that you were never inside the feeling. The feeling was moving inside you, and movement cannot imprison what does not hold it. Nothing dramatic happens here. No breakthrough. No relief to chase. only a quiet recognition. The one who observes is not shaken. The storm passes through open ground, and open ground is never damaged by weather. Yes, the warriors who understood this did not train the mind by force. They did not wrestle thought into submission. They aligned themselves with what was already true. Their discipline was posture, how they stood, how they breathed, how they allowed each moment to arrive without resistance. Anxiety, to them, was not an enemy. It was energy, movement in the system. When the mind did not cling, that energy passed cleanly through. When the mind attached, it became trapped, circling endlessly. The difference was never strength. It was alignment. This is why inner discipline was quiet, invisible from the outside. No tension in the face, no urgency in the body. The blade was sharp because the hand was relaxed. The mind was clear because it was not holding a story. True discipline is not suppression. It is not control. It is a refusal to add weight where none is required. When the mind stands in reality, without leaning forward or pulling back, anxiety has no surface to stick to. It moves on as all things do. Over time, something begins to change. Not suddenly, not loudly. The way you relate to yourself becomes lighter. Decisions are no longer shaped by the need to escape a feeling. Identity is no longer built around managing fear. You stand more often in the present, not because you try to, but because there is less pulling you away. Detachment does not make life smaller. It makes it honest. You respond instead of react. You move without dragging the past or chasing the future. What once felt like constant vigilance softens into awareness. You begin to recognize this state not as something new, but as something familiar, as if you had returned to a posture you once knew, long before the chain was wrapped around your thoughts. Nothing is forced here. No promise is made. Only a quiet understanding settles in. When nothing is held too tightly, life flows without resistance. And in that flow, you discover you were never broken, only gripping what could never stay.